everyone. Welcome to Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Bryant, coming live to you from PG County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories behind being a college coach, this is the show for you. Being a former assistant men's college basketball coach for 16 years, there are so many untold stories in the life of a college basketball coach. Now, let's unmask them. Today's guest is a young and bright assistant coach with a great basketball mind, an excellent talent evaluator, a future head coach in this business, and a native of the Washington, D.C. area by way of Nigeria. Family's from Nigeria. So I want to welcome to a guy I've watched for a long time. He was in high school and teammate with a guy I coached, Tony Skinn, who's doing a wonderful job now up at Seton Hall. Tony finished his career at George Mason in 2006. He was a starting point guard on their team and for Final Four. Took George Mason to some, one of the first mid-major schools in a long time. They've been to a Final Four, so he did a tremendous job with that team. A lot of guys from the Washington, D.C. area, the DMV, was on that team. And, from there, he went on to play professionally for 6 years. Had a very good career playing professionally. They made him some good money, I'm sure, as well. But then came back home, I think it was like right after the injury, and kind of got into coaching right away. Coached AAU with Team Takeover DC. Also was an AD over at Paul International High School dealing for 3 years roughly. And then he gets a chance to go to Louisiana Tech with Eric Kunkel, who's an assistant coach on their staff at George Mason. And so he was there at Louisiana Tech for 3 years in Conference USA. And then for the last 2 years, getting ready to go on year 3, he's been at Seton Hall University, where they've done an outstanding job, ended up winning the league title this year during the regular season before the pandemic broke out, and doing a great job with Coach Willard. But I want to welcome to the show a guy, I got a chance to watch as a player. Now he's doing an outstanding job in coaching, Tony Skinn. How you doing, Tony? Welcome to the show.
I appreciate you having me, Lamar, man. It's always a pleasure to chat it up with you.
All right, man. Look, we're going to get right to it, man. We're going to go ahead and get unmasked. This is what we're here for. Tony, you finished playing and you got a chance to jump into coaching. It's probably something you probably thought about, especially when you was playing professionally. I'm sure you've been around a lot of good coaches, most of your life. So there's no handbook, in being a college coach. Tell me about that first day, the first week, first month after things are done with human resources or orientation, especially when no one gives you direction. You go right into going to La Tech, man, Louisiana Tech. What was that like, man, that first time when you get there to Louisiana Tech?
Oh, man, as you know, like any other job, when you show up on the first day, it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. And in the business that we're in, where we take on so much and wear so many different hats, trying to navigate through it, it's all on time, man. Like the time is going to come to give you the experience. And I don't think, like you said earlier, I don't think it's a book to experience until you get the experience, right? But obviously I was lucky, man. I had a chance to work with somebody that I knew, and he knew that I needed time. And so whatever he told me, even if to me it didn't make sense, I did it. So whether it was calling, every high school coach in the state of Louisiana, they might not even have a Division I, II, or III kid. I was still calling, just trying to establish and build those relationships. And then again, I was lucky because I worked with, 2 other guys that were assistants that were perfect for me, and just understanding, all right, this is from this standpoint and this perspective, this is a good guy to watch. And then from this standpoint, the same thing. So I was fortunate, man. It's not always like that. But, like you said, man, now going into year 6, man, those first couple of weeks, man, in a completely different region, I ain't know nothing about nothing. We all want to be coaches, right? Until we get the opportunity, and then you're like, oh, what we doing now? So it's no different. It's no different. And I tell my players that all the time. You want the moment until the moment comes, then what you going to do with it? So it's the same thing, just a little bit different. But having that opportunity to work around some good people, man, it, gave me a buffer that, obviously helped me out tremendously.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Look, we talk about recruiting. We know that's the lifeline of college athletics, man. You got to get good players and good people if you want to win. And the couple of places you've been, you and the staff have done a great job of getting really good players and good people. Because if not, you're not winning games at this level. Talk about your best and worst recruiting stories. And a lot of times it's not always about, we know it's tough, man, when you put a lot of time into a kid and you don't get them, or like it could be a kid that just landed in your lap, or it could be a travel situation. But talk about your best and worst recruiting stories.
I'll say my best, and I always give him credit, man. You know, Daquan Bracey was my first kid, and I remember, you know, from my own field, I just thought we needed something a little bit different going into that next year after losing Alex Hamilton. And I remember just kind of calling back home like, hey, man, listen, I don't really know what's going on. And, you know, certain kids that I'm not even going to go down that lane with that I know I can't get down here in, you know, North Louisiana. And I remember talking to Brandon that's at St. Joe's. And Brandon's like, yo, I got one for you. And I always give him credit for this. And this is a complete, I'm getting off the Richter. I wish we would do this more in the DMV, especially instead of trying to, you know, competition is good, but at the end of the day, if I can't take this kid, let me put my man on, or let me tell somebody else that can, right? Because there's so many of us in the business, you know, at different levels. And, you know, I always give credit to Brandon because he couldn't, in that one conversation, I wouldn't have known anything about Daquan Bracey, right? So, you know, Brandon tells me as a kid in Baltimore that you probably like him. So I remember flying to Baltimore, and right away, like I knew that this kid was a competitor, and it kind of reminded myself a little bit. But it's always tough to get kids like that to get to the region that I was in, especially as kids that came out of a Georgetown visit. James Madison was pressing them every single day. And I don't think the phone calls were stopping, but, you know, it just took one conversation to another. His mentor, Chu Smith, who I didn't even realize it, was really close with somebody who was my mentor that I consider family, Lyndon DeBella. And so I called Chu, and Chu gives me this whole rap for like 10 minutes, like, man, young blood, you don't even know, you know, you don't remember, you know, at the park when I came through a couple of times, Black wanted to check you, but he told me to talk to you. I'm sitting there like, man, who is this dude? And so I get off the phone with him, and I'm picking my brain and just kind of going back down memory lane. I call my aunt, called Black, and he's like, yeah, that's true. You remember, you know, this so-and-so situation? I'm like, yeah, you know what, now that you say it, I kind of remember. So like that dynamic helped me out tremendously, because the next day, you know, I called you, and obviously we kind of just picked back up from, you know, you're talking about a situation that happened when I was 16, 17 years old. I'd call him back, you know, 16 years later, and that situation helps me get Daquan Bracey, because he's like, yo, I ain't sending nobody. I'm not sending this kid to just anybody because he's a little different. And so I would say that's my best one, because this kid comes down there and he's rookie of the year. And as you know, you were in the league. And if he just had a little bit more consistency mentally, I mean, he obviously had a really good career at La Tech, but he could have done even more. But, you know, I would say that was my best, you know, so far my best one. Worst recruiting, I think it feels like deja vu when you ask this, man, because I think about horror stories, but it's like, it's nothing crazy. You know, obviously it's always disheartening when you think, you know, you're going to get a kid, and then you go from being actually, I just dealt with this. I'll give you a story. I won't say his name, but I was in a mix with a kid that's really, really, really good. Not a DMV kid, kid that's out the region. I went to watch him last year really, really early. I mean, kid probably had like some mid-major, low-major offers. I offered. Kid loved us. He was a huge Mouse Powell fan. Everything he was saying, it sounded good. It's a top 50 kid now. So I'm like expecting the funniness to happen, right? But I'm like, man, we still, you know, we high level enough where we can get the kid or whatever you want to call it. But, you know, at the end of the day, certain programs they're not as sexy for certain kids. You know how that goes. And so I talked to this kid maybe about 2 weeks ago, as his recruitment picked up. Nothing crazy, not like Blue Bloods or anything, but just a bunch of high major programs. And he put out his top 11. And up until that point, I was like, man, I just want to know where we at, because we're in a mix with a lot of kids. And this kid's not very conversational. Kid, he picks the phone up, he FaceTime, he's like, Coach, I've been telling you, it's y'all and so-and-so, all these other schools. I'm just trying to just, put my little list out. So I left that conversation pretty confident, like, man, you know what? This kid been, he done kept it real, right? But you forget sometimes you dealing with 17-year-olds, man. They don't even know what real is, right? Shoot them a text like 2-3 days later, no answer. FaceTime them, no answer. I mean, it turned into now, at the end of the day, you never want to burn a bridge, but the way that you're handling the situation, you kind of burning the bridge a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Because I gave you, and again, it's never about me being in my feelings. That's just how the game goes. More than anything, I like keeping a relationship with guys that I recruit, because we know how this goes. There's always the bounce back in full circles. we just got Trey Jackson from Missouri, who was headed to us, but decided to go to Missouri, and he's now with us because it just didn't. He had actually a pretty solid freshman year, but he wanted something different, and I think he's a pro. And so, like, not messing up that relationship, when he called me and said, man, I want to go to Missouri, I was like, that's cool, man. Wish you good luck. Let's stay in touch. That's all I wanted from this particular kid. And so the way he handled it, I would say, man, even at this level, you can't fall in love with, some of these kids, man, because at the end of the day, it's a tough process for them. And they don't know, as much as they think they know. So I haven't had any horror stories, but that one killed me, man, because I thought, it's going to come down. I ain't talked to the kid yet, and I know he's like, he's probably like, damn, that's all it took me 3 or 4 on response to text messages. Like, yeah, it's September. So that's the good and the bad, I guess.
No, I feel you on that one, man. You're 100% right. Like you handled it right, and because he has to learn himself, like how to. You got to be an adult about situations.
Yeah,
I mean, you know what I'm saying? So you got to know how to handle your business. You just got to know how to do that.
Yeah, for
so,
sure.
And I kind of asked this question, but a lot of times I change it up. And this business, man, it's 12, 15-hour days. It's 355, 360 days. Like, what did you have to sacrifice? And I'm not even gonna say give up. Well, what did you have to sacrifice achieving your current level of success?
I would say, man, you have to just, I was one of those guys that, I always spent as much time in the gym. And so once I started to learn, the more hours I put in the gym, the better my game got. I would say I've had to use that same model as a coach. Because the one thing I'll say is, I give credit to the guys that never played, but they've been behind this computer, and, they got 300,000 miles behind the computer, right? I got 300,000 miles, physically, but maybe not behind the board. And so I would say in my short time, man, just really just, having the discipline to go above and beyond, and just learning, watching film, picking different people's brain. I don't care if you're 23 or 24, you're going to have a perspective that I want to get from everybody in the room. And that's just kind of how I've always been. So having that kind of just open-mindedness, a lot of times, man, I think you get guys that played at a high level, they just walk into the room, think they know everything. And so I always remind myself, I don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? I don't even want to have a conversation about what I did as a player, because at the end of the day, we all here as coaches. Let's all get better. Let's pick each other's brain. I can learn from you, and you can learn from me. So I would say not necessarily sacrifice, but just having the willingness to, you got a lot of people that think they too goddamn smart in the business. And I never want to be that guy. Even as young as I am, 10 years from now, I'm still going to be the guy that wants to learn. Like, if I'm sitting on a Zoom call, I'm probably not saying nothing because I'm soaking game and listening. I think that's a lost art in the business, is listening. And I'm trying to make sure that that's something that, I continue to kind of do as a coach.
I feel you on that one, man. You're so right, too. Scout reports, and we know how important they are, man. Preparation, making sure these guys are like making sure that they're prepared for these games and putting them in the best position, or putting your team in the best position to win. And we know that how much time you put into it. As college coaches, like you're talking about, you're watching 7, 8+ games. You're coming up with the play calls, the tendencies, the actions they run, and just trying to prepare them as best as you can. And then you got guys, man, sometimes that they end up, guys don't even play games. Sometimes they miss 2 or 3 games, have been struggling, and all of a sudden these guys shoot and make 3 or 4 threes in a game, and you sitting here wondering, or coaches wondering why this guy may or may not be on a scout report. But like, talk about your best and worst scout reports that you've had, in the last couple of years or something like that, being a Seton Hawk.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I didn't do scouting at all at La Tech. I was, in charge of offense and obviously the recruiting and stuff. So I got thrown right into the fire and when I got here to Seton Hall with, a lot of responsibility and just learning, not just learning, to be good at, preparation and stuff like that, but just learning the actual culture and what the expectation was here at Seton Hall, because everybody's different. Some staffs, it's scouting report can be this thick. Some staff, not as thick. And so just trying to learn just the way of the land here, it was, I had to adapt to it. And I remember one particular game, I want to say it was at Xavier my first year. Was it Travis? What's Travis's? What's Travis' last name? Travis Steele. Obviously myself, one of the other coaches on the bench, kind of had everything together, play calls and everything else. And I remember him just running something crazy that we just never saw. And I remember Coach Willard losing his shit on the sideline. He's like, "Man, what is that?" And my initial reaction, I was just like, "I don't know. They put in new places like we do." You know what I'm saying? So I remember that moment, man, where it's like, no matter how much you prepare, man, this is why we're coaches. You got to be prepared for certain things that are going to happen in the game. And sometimes you can help prevent it. Sometimes you just can't. There's a lot of unknown in basketball. So from that standpoint, I would say that was a tough moment. We ended up getting a win. So it worked out. And I would say my best one would be this past season here against Villanova. We all know the type of program that Villanova is. We all know that, Jay Wright, he don't run a lot of stuff. He's not a very complicated guy. And it sounds easy to scout, but those are sometimes the most dangerous ones because he's going to beat you to death with the same shit. And it's just hard to guard. And having an opportunity to go there this year against a very, very good team, a top 10, top 15 team, we were very, very well prepared. And it was my scout. It was my birthday. It was a 12 o'clock game. So I'm like, back of my head, listen, it's been 22 years we ain't never beat these dudes, right? So in the back of my head, I'm like, man, this could be the best birthday gift ever. Game at 12. And sure enough, man, we got the win. And that was the first one in 23 years at Villanova. And that was huge for me just because, I was on top of every single thing in that game and just having an opportunity to accomplish something like that. Even though, 99.9% of the credit goes to the guys, it feels good to just be able to get like a high level win like that.
That's awesome. That's definitely awesome. What's the biggest challenge, man, you think you've experienced since you've been in college coaching these last, you're already going year 6?
Mm-hmm. Biggest challenge? That's easy. COVID. That's a no-brainer, especially because COVID is, for every program is different and how bad it affected them. For us, it took away an opportunity for a special team to make a really good run at a championship. We went from, obviously winning the league, having the best shooting guard in the country who, you can go to any type of dogfight where you were going to have a chance, to being a 2 or 3 seed where our home sites was going to be in Buffalo first round, which is in-state, and then eventually at Madison Square Garden. So it's like a home game for us through 4 games. You win 4 games, you in the Final Four. And so
you went through that. You went through that.
So I wasn't saying anything, but I'm like sitting there like Man, listen, we get to the Final Four. I'm gonna flip the script. Back when I was at Mason and we went to the Final Four, I was ducking the cameras, you know, real low key. I look across the locker room, you know, Lamar Butler taking every interview he could possibly take. So like in the back of my head, I'm like, you know what, if there's one thing I could change, it would just be to engage and be involved more. And I'm sitting there like, man, we're gonna make a run of this thing. And I can't wait to tell everybody I knew this was coming and I've been seeing it. And so to have that experience taken away from you, man, it's been challenging, man, because, you know, not only does it affect us as a program to just kind of show what we've been working on for so long, it also, you know, from the player standpoint, it takes something away from them that you know can change, you know, can change their lives, you know, change mine, change Lamar's, change everybody that was on that 2016 mob, and guys like Miles Powell, you know, Quincy McKnight, you know, Romaro Gill, who got most improved player in the Big East, as well as defensive player in the Big East, and he could barely catch the ball 12 months ago. You know what I mean? So to see those guys not be able to play at the highest level, and then now to flip it into, I ain't been on the road since, I mean, those are the times you look forward to. You know, in the summertime, having a chance to move around a little bit, watch guys, and, you know, for our 2021 guys and now our 2022 guys, you got a lot of these kids that are like, you know, they're looking at certain programs like, why y'all ain't offered this, that, and the other. Well, some programs like to watch you before they offer because you might not fit us. You know what I mean? So having all those little, you know, nuances that's kind of just, you know, change the course of how we normally take, you know, April to August. It's been challenging, man, because it's like, man, what are we going to do next? When they going to let us out of the house? We can't even have visits. We're expecting to sign guys. And you're putting a lot of pressure on these kids and their families to make, you know, life decisions without having any type of a taste. You know what I mean? So it's been challenging, man. And then these Zoom calls, man, I'd rather be out. You know what I mean? I'd rather be out. I'd rather have you on campus. You know, I'd rather be watching you because my recruiting, I guess you could say, protocol is pretty simple. I'm gonna recruit the hell out of you as a staff, and then when April comes, you're gonna see us at every game, 3-4 deep, and it's gonna be consistent. So no message that anybody can give you is gonna defer what we've done physically. Like if you start looking back there and we ain't there, then we ain't no different than any other program. And so like that's the one thing that July has taken away from that kind of unison that we have as a staff and how we kind of move around, because you might like, you know, school number 2 a little bit more than you like us, but when you see our action, it changes that mindset a little bit. So I miss that, you know.
Yeah, COVID has definitely, you know, changed a lot. And I mean, and it's going to be interesting to see how not only just the COVID, but like when they change the new rule of this new transfer rule and all that. That's going to be interesting how it changes. I can't wait to see that. We're not even going to talk about it on this, but it's just going to be interesting in the next.
Let's just put it to you like this: NCAA got their work cut out for them, don't they?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Do you ever find that there are things about you that people might misunderstand? Like, what are they?
Say that again.
I said, do you ever find that there are things about you that people misunderstand? Like, what are they?
Yeah, I think we talked about this before, man. I just think that, you know, sometimes, you know, when you're as young as I am and kind of just not too far removed from the game, people, they look at you from when you played and as a competitor. And I'll be the first to say I was Pat Beverly with offense, man. I was trying to get in everybody's shit. And so I think it's so easy, and I do the same thing to other people. It's so easy to transcend that kind of a personality and character into who you are as a coach or who you are as a person. And so the one thing that, you know, I challenge myself is just to be I always try to speak first, try to be a little bit more approachable, because you just never know what somebody else is thinking about you. You're a Hofstra guy. Everybody at Hofstra hates me because I punched Lawrence Stokes, right?
That's true. You can't bring up your name around there.
Yeah. So I go out of my way to make sure that I tell people this all the time. Like me and Lauren, we cool. Like we played with the Magic and Summer League together. We chopped it up, you know, and obviously I apologized to him when it happened, but that was just in the heat of the moment where, two guys that were, going at it, and, he got the best of me and I made a mistake, man. But, from that perspective, sometimes you get that type of a stain and it kind of carries you around, man. And so I'm going out of my way to make sure, at the end of the day, if that's the worst thing somebody could say about Tony Skinn, he punched somebody in the game, I can live with that because I know who I am. And so, just in my walk of life as a coach, as a mentor, I always try to remind myself to just, speak first, be approachable. I'm very, how can you say, I'm a very humorous guy. I got 3 kids that, I joke around and clown with all the time, and I carry that into my work life. I think that we're very fortunate and blessed in what we do with basketball, where we don't need to come in there like, we fighting a war. It's a game. So
right. You're so right. Listen, man, you've had some great teachers along the way. Not just talking about basketball. You mentioned Black Development Camp. You mentioned them, and I know I've been knowing Black probably for 20 plus years. So, but you've also, you've had good coaches, you had good teachers. What do you try to teach or educate to your players besides the game of basketball?
Like you said, man, like the one thing I value the most in being a coach is the mentorship side of it. This game is so far, it's just so, you get a chance to play if you're lucky 10 years, but you got to go work, you got to make a living for your family for 30, 40 years. And so the one thing I always try to harp on my guys is just making sure that at the end of the day, be who you are everywhere you go, be that same person that you are, by yourself. Don't embarrass don't embarrass the last name on the back of your jersey. Don't embarrass the name on the front of your jersey. I have a saying, do the right thing or get the right thing done to you. And just being respectful, man. At the end of the day, it's not complicated, especially at a Seton Hall where you are the football, you are the basketball. And everything that you do is, at the end of the day, it's going to be scrutinized. But don't wait until something happens or somebody calls you out to then try to fix it. Just do what you're supposed to do. And so that's the one thing, I try to make sure that, and I keep it real with my guys, man. We all been there. It's not one thing that y'all going to do that we ain't already did. So, be honest, be straightforward, even when it's bad. Like, keep it 100, because the only way we can help you out of it is if you keep it 100. Can't help you if you lie to the people that's going to help you. And so there's that straightforwardness, that candidness. And, again, it's, I've been there, done that. And the guys know that too. So they always make sure that they're forthcoming, alongside with myself and the staff and stuff like that.
Well, look, you've had a short time, but you've had some success. You've been through some things. And I ask this because, even in a short time of coaching, I know your playing days at Final Four was best, but like, what are your best and worst memories in coaching, even though in this short time? We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier with COVID, but there might have been some other things. But what are your best and worst memories?
Man, listen, and I tell this to people all the time. Winning is hard, man. It's very, very hard. And there's no blueprint to winning. At some point in time, you're going to coach on a bad team and you're going to play on a bad team, right? I've been very, very fortunate to not experience coaching on a bad team yet. We obviously took over a program that, Mike White did a wonderful job, and that's why he got to Florida, and we kind of slid right in. And I want to say my second year, that was considered like a bad year, and we won 19 games. And the name of the game in college basketball is to get to 20. You get to 20, you had a good season, right? And at La Tech, it was like 22, 19, 22. And I've been here now at Seton Hall for the 2 years I've been here. A big reason why I took this job over some other jobs is I saw what Coach Willard and the staff was doing. We're trending upwards. He figured it out. And so you could say I jumped on the bandwagon. But I've been fortunate, man. I ain't had that. Just been on good situations, man. So knock on wood, man. I know it's coming. It comes to everybody. There's no perfect.
Not everybody, but hey, you keep doing a great job. It don't happen to everybody.
Yeah,
might happen to most, Tony. That don't happen to every. Some people they're fortunate.
Yeah, some people are fortunate, but some people also have the top 5, top 6 best jobs in college basketball, so you can't even put them in the list. You know what I mean? That's why they are the blue bloods, because they're going to be protected some sort of way and find a way to, you know, keep their jobs even if they don't win 20 games.
Correct.
You ain't firing Roy Williams after his first bad season after 2 decades. You know what I'm saying? So,
that's so true. That's so true.
Everybody's man.
You, like I said, what's the strangest, wildest, craziest? It could be something you just was like, wow, that you saw a player has done outside of the basketball court. Or it might have been something in practice that, like, something happened in, like, you know, outside that basketball court, even though in practice, like.
Man, I'm supposed to say this on record. I told you this on that first one. I don't know if you remember. Man, I once had a player that my wife saw him going back to his dorm. It was hot outside. It's probably 102 degrees outside. And he was funny, man. He would do so many different things that you would just be scratching your head like, what is he doing? And the man just couldn't control his bowels, man. Whether it was, you know, we sitting there around the huddle, we about to bring it in just right before practice start. He out of the huddle. I gotta go use the bathroom. So everybody else is warming up. They ain't, you know, game days. But anyways, on a particular day, it's like, you know, 105 degrees outside, pretty hot. We had just finished workouts, and, you know, I took off, went to my house, and this kid was walking back to his dorm, and I guess he just got so hot. The only reason I noticed is because my wife called me. He's like, yo, I'm sitting here in parking lot, and, you know, so-and-so is like changing in the middle of the parking lot. And my man literally got down to like his, you know, sock and drawers in the parking lot just to change into a different outfit that he could have just waited 90 seconds, you know, till he got to his dorm to do, man. But, you know, when I heard that, I wanted to get mad, but then I just started busting out laughing, man. I was just like, because my wife ended up like kind of FaceTiming me and showing me while it was happening, and I'm sitting there like, oh, God. But that was wild.
Wow.
The man was butterball naked in public, broad daylight.
Wow. Yeah, that's a stranger. That's a stranger, man. You know, like you said, you've been fortunate. You've had some good guys you've worked with, you know, and you know, mentor. You know, work with Keith Stevens with Team Takeover AAU, and now, like, and I asked this question. The reason why I asked this is because if you had a chance to sit down, and you played for Coach Larry Nagle, but if you had a chance to sit down with 3 guys and, you know, had dinner, and you wanted to pick their brain about what made you successful as a head coach during your time, who are 3 guys that you know, and I'm taking away, you know, Concord, I'm taking away Willard, but who would you want to sit down with and say, you know, let me know, give me some of your secrets of what has made you successful? What 3 guys would you say, those are the guys I want to sit down with?
Man, it's funny you said that, because I always think about that, right? And my list kind of varies, because I can give you 2 for sure. And that third one could just, I could rotate a couple guys. But the first one, I'm drawing a blank right now. It's my man at Florida State.
Leonard Hamilton.
First one is Leonard Hamilton, because you see this man, he's been, it's almost like he's the dark horse in the conversation of, you know, the Coach K's, you know, the Tom Izzos. And when you look at some of the stuff he's been able to accomplish, man, you like, why my man ain't in the same conversation? And so just looking at him and his success over time in, you know, the toughest league, just asking him, I mean, and again, it's 2020, you got all this, you know, different things that are going on socially, just knowing that he's been able to be successful during this decade, during the last decade. And just management too, just like how is he able to, because the one thing he's doing right now, he getting all the top dogs. And I'm trying to figure out, you know, what the sell is for managing those type of guys that are obviously pros, but are committed to coming to play for you regardless who's coming in the door. All those different things, man. He'd be a guy I'd love to sit down and chat with. And then when you see him in the gym, it's like, it's almost like he not even, like he be floating in there, you know? But he's been in the game. He's seen so many different levels of it. So that's one guy I would love to sit down and chat with. The other guy was my third-year coach in France. And he got the best out of me in a weird way. Christian Monchou. And he was very, very successful in Europe. And I played in France 3 years. My first 2 years, I was top 3, top 4 in scoring. But I was on bad teams. And his pitch to me, you know, I had some options because, you know, everybody knew I could score the ball and stuff. But his pitch to me was, I'm going to go get the best 7 players on the worst teams and bring them together. And everybody thought he was nuts. And I still think the mouth was crazy. You know what I mean? But man, like, it worked. We almost won the league. And, you know, you take away an injury or two, we would have won the league. We ended up making a deep run in the playoffs. It was my best year statistically. I know that, like, it's funny, I just did a podcast before this one, and they had, like, they whole printout of, you know, my stats and stuff. And I never remember anything about my stats from when I played except for this year because my numbers was crazy. It's like 55 from 2, 45 from 3, and like 90-something from the free throw line. And as much as I want to give myself credit, man, I got to give credit to the coach and the way he was able to manipulate my mind on what a good shot was. Because my stats were better, and I played probably 10, 11 minutes less than I played the previous year when I led the league in scoring. So, you know, from an efficiency standpoint, I would love to sit down with him now. It's funny. I'm waiting on my man, you know, TJ Thompson. TJ played for the same coach with a different team. And we
were Rutgers now, right? At Rutgers, yeah.
Rutgers. And I've been waiting 2 weeks now. I'm putting TJ on blast. If you're watching, man, send me the tapes, man. Because I'm trying to, you know, we talked about how much it helped the both of us, man. And just, you know, it took us to kind of another level in Europe. And just looking at some of the offenses. But it was very, very pick and roll heavy. And he gave you like the freedom, but also, you know, a little bit of discipline, just enough to make sure you got what you needed, but then we also got what we needed offensively. So I would give him that second slot, and obviously you took away my basketball family with, you know, the Larinagas and the Conquers. So that third one, I would say, again, I could flip-flop with some guys, but I would say David Cox maybe, just because, you know, I look at him as a younger guy from where we come from that was able to just, you know, stay the course. Because, you know, he was up at bat when he was at Rutgers, and then that whole, you know, situation happened there. And we know that hurt him because he was probably a couple of years away from getting a head job there, but he stayed the course. And then to be able to, you know, do what he's done and do it in a way where it's, you know, it's kind of like his way a little bit. You know how it is, man, for us. We got to fit this criteria of different things for them to give us an opportunity, right? So I would say D. Cox, man. And now, I mean, he's going to year 3 for him, maybe? He's been successful. Yeah. He's done pretty well. You know, sky's the limit for him and his future. So I would love to get his early interpretation of being a head coach. Not 20 years from now when he's been in the business for so long, but like his early stages of some of the things that he's had to do to be successful.
Those are 3 good ones, man.
Yeah.
David Cox. So you don't think about it, but like that's kind of a path that, like, you say, hey, this is what I can do. Yeah. You know, thinking about that. So no, I like that answer. What's your favorite word or phrase you like to use? Like, especially, I know you know, as a player you have one thing, but then you come back now you're coaching these kids. Like, what's your favorite word or phrase?
I got a bunch, man, but I'll give you one. And I think I kind of attested to it earlier, man. Like, be careful what you ask for. You know what I mean? Because we work, we drill, we do all these things in the gym, we get after it. And then when that moment comes, it's like, what you gonna do with it? So I challenge my guys all the time. Anytime they see me, they know what I'm gonna say. Hey, be careful what you ask for, man, because when that moment comes, what you gonna do with it? When that game comes where you get 16 attempts, are you 3 for 16 or are you 10 for 16? Everybody wants to be that guy until that moment comes, and it's like you don't realize how tough it is to be that guy. You know what I'm saying? So, we had Miles Powell go down for a couple games, and, it was one of those things where it's like we found success as a unit, but it wasn't in the same form as the way we've been getting it. And so it was one of those things where you had your moments where you had to challenge dudes and be like, hey, he ain't on the floor now. You know what I mean? When he was on the floor, you might have not got this shot even though you was open, and he was complaining about it. Now you open, you missed the last 5 shots. So, be careful what you ask for. That's all. I mean, that's definitely one. And then I don't know, man. I can't freestyle that stuff, man. That stuff just comes from in the moment, man. To be honest with you, never nothing corny where I'm saying the same things either. So, actually, you know what? Let me look on my board, man. I got some stuff that I always, every once in a while. Let's see if there's anything here. You gotta remember too, man. We ain't even been in the gym with these dudes, man.
I know that's the crazy thing. But I love that one. I love the one you said, man. That's pretty good because you're right. Be careful what you ask for. Like you say, everybody wants it, but I mean, what have you done what have you done to put yourself in a position to be the person you think you are? You're taking that role, so I actually like that.
Exactly, especially at this level, at the high major level, man. Everybody thinks they're a pro.
Of course, they do. They do. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Best piece of advice. Man, I could think of a couple. Man, just in the different stages of my career as a player, as a coach. I'll give you 2. I'll just say as a player, the one consistent word that came from just different people, man, like whether it was family, whether it was a coach, I think sacrifice. When you come from where we come from, where I come from, there's just a lot of distractions. And no matter how much you want something or no matter how good you are, there comes a certain level of sacrifice that you have to commit to ultimately get to where you want to get to. And boy, did I have the distractions, man. And, 75 different ways. And to be able to, not qualify out of high school, then have to go JUCO. There was a certain level of commitment and sacrifice that I had to have. Because a lot of times, man, I'm still waiting for somebody to do like a documentary on the statistics of junior college guys that don't make it to the next level. Dudes that get lost, especially back then. You know what I mean? So I would say sacrifice, and not just from one person. It was just a common theme from different people who wanted to see me succeed. It was like, listen, you got to get this up. You got to stop doing this. You got to stop coming around the way here and just sacrifice that stuff, because if you do, you'll be happy with yourself. And obviously in the position that I'm in now, I would have never thought years back that this is where I would be. So I would say sacrifice. And then from, I guess you could say, a coaching standpoint, the best bit of advice I got was from Coach Conkle, man. I remember, because I would talk to him all the time when I played, and we would just be talking. He was the one that actually gave me you need to get the 180 with your percentages, because he's like a math wizard. And so he would come up with these little challenges, and that was one of them. And so once I did that year and got a paycheck the next year, I was like, man, that's my Phil Jackson. I gotta call this dude any chance I get. And so I remember, I can't remember when it was, but we all know our social medias and our platforms are completely different when we're the player and then when we transition into the professional world. But when you're the player, there's not a thought about any of that, because we think we're going to play forever, right? And if we don't play forever, we're going to transition into, some business where, ain't nobody paying attention to social media, right? And not that I had anything crazy on my social media, but I remember him just telling me, man, listen, I don't know what you're going to want to do moving forward, but you start cleaning up your social media. If you want to get into coaching, this stuff is important. Start kind of dedicating it towards basketball. And he told me this long before I got hurt. He said this maybe year 5. I was still playing. I just got my biggest paycheck. I'm like, man, what is he talking about? Like, I'm going to tweet what I want. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to post whatever I want, And again, social media wasn't as scrutinized. You know what I'm saying? So he was kind of ahead of his time. And I remember, fast forward, I started to do that as time went on. Once I started to transition out of playing, started coaching with, take over in the high school level and stuff like that. It was like I did it without realizing that I was doing it. And who hires me? It's Concord. And I could have easily let that kind of fly over my head, but he had to have seen that, like, I made the effort to kind of change that stuff up for him to hire me to represent him as a coach, first year coach. I was his first hire. So when I think about the best advice, I would say that was some pretty good damn advice, because if I don't do my part, he probably doesn't hire me as a coach.
Yeah, that's true, man. That's true. And I'm glad he did. I remember we had some talks about getting in the business beforehand. So I remember those days. Yeah. If like, I know you're not a self-promoter, you don't go around and brag about yourself. You let your work speak for yourself, which, that's awesome. But I'm gonna ask you this: if you had to choose 3 adjectives to describe yourself, which would you choose?
Passionate, hardworking, and just the overall. I mean, take this for the good and the bad. Just the overall hustler, man. Like, I'm gonna figure it out. That's I wish I could come up with the word. I'm a figure outer. That's who I am. And I've learned, over time to just kind of have faith in myself, just because it's always been the back door. It's never been anything easy. It's never been through the front door. And so you don't consistently figure it out unless you're a hustler and unless you're a go-getter. So not to toot my own horn, but, that's how I would kind of describe myself.
Awesome. Like, what person or persons and or event has had the most influence on your life?
And that could be, that's multiple people, man. That's, my mom, my kids, my first kid in college, that changed just my thought process about stuff. I had my son, Isaiah, in the middle of all the chaos, all the, Lauren Stokes chaos. My wife was pregnant. And so it was, if there was Twitter back then, I would have had 1 million followers messing with that whole Lauren Stokes situation in a week. You know what I mean? And just the stuff that was kind of going on behind the scenes, that was what kind of changed the course for me, just mentally. Like, man, I got to figure this thing out. And basketball is like my best chance. It's funny. I remember her calling me while we were at Northeastern, and we got snowed in. And this was like one of the Christmas games, like right after Christmas. And my senior year, I remember her calling, I'm pregnant. I'm like, what? Like, all right, we play in like 3 hours. I'm gonna call you back. And man, I had the best game of one of my best defensive games of my career, and ended up setting like the CAA steals record, because I went to work on Jose Juan Barret. Had like 11 steals and some craziness, and we got a big win up there at Northeastern. So I would say from that day forward, kind of set the precedent for me on, not it just being about myself. It's like there's other people involved in this that, I got to sacrifice and, make a living for.
I'm going to ask you this. What energizes you and brings you excitement?
Ask me that again.
So what energizes you and brings you excitement?
I mean, it's a couple of things. One, being around good people. I think there's good and value in being around authentic people. And I'm not the one to be around people that ain't authentic. I don't even want to be in the room. And so if I'm around good people, you're gonna see that I'm gonna be the biggest cheerleader in the room. You know what I mean? But also competition, man. Winning is just, it's a feeling that you can't describe, man. When you're sitting there in front of 12, 15,000 people, and the grind that you've put in, and then to see it kind of come in fruition in front of so many different people, and then to see it with your players and with your guys and the type of excitement. I got to actually do better with jumping around and being excited on the bench. I'd be too hyped. We talk about that checklist of what people be looking for right now. You can't even get too excited. You got to show composure. You know what I'm saying? Even though some coaches can pace back and forth and flip chairs and do what they want, they've earned that right. And when you're trying to get to a certain level, as you grind your way to the top, it's funny. I got to make sure that I'm working on that. But competition and winning, man, that's what excites me and engages me.
Awesome. Knowing what you know now, what would you tell your young or younger self to prepare for as an assistant coach?
Man, I would say this, man. Like, there's so many different things and so many ways you could look at that and say, man, I would have did this and did that. I'm gonna say, man, like I can't answer that question the right way for you, because I feel like everything happens for a reason. You know what I mean? Because I might have did something a little bit different, and it would have took me to a different path. You know what I'm saying? I might have did the G League, and who knows, I might have made it to NBA, or I may have never played again. You know what I'm saying? It's just a lot of different things. I mean, I went to junior college, and a lot of people don't know this, but I got in trouble down there, and I'm not afraid to say it. I got pretty much kicked off the team for something I didn't do, but nevertheless, I was kicked off the team. A month left in the season. So from February on to May, like, I stayed on campus, not playing basketball, because I wasn't allowed in the gym. And so, for whatever reason, you know how that goes. A lot of times, man, dudes would have got on the first thing smoking and came back home. But for whatever reason, I stayed the course down there, and I was able to get the credits that I needed to where it rolled into, my next stop at Hagerstown. And from a graduation standpoint, like, I was fine. So there's just so many different things that I would say, like, man, I wish I would have did this. I think everything happens for a reason. At the end of the day, I think God, whatever God has in store for you, God's plan is going to work itself out. As long as you're doing your part and making sure that you're putting yourself in the best position, I think that's kind of been what's made me successful and put me in this position, man.
Awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that too, man. Like, I think young people need to hear, like, yeah, that stuff happened to you, but it didn't stop you. It didn't deter you. You still got to what your goals were and, successful. So that's something good that, I hope these young people listen to. And yeah, I mean, things can happen to you, but you didn't stare off and go down the wrong path.
Everybody's got a speed bump, road bump. Everybody's got something that at the end of the day, they had to kind of go through to get to where ultimately they got to. I don't think there's one person on this earth that's walked a smooth line and got to where they wanted to get to. Have stuff that's going, obviously, affect you one way or the other, but you can't let it define you. So
true. Well, look, thank you again, Tony, man, for being a guest on the show and being unmasked. Anything you want to say to the viewers before we go?
Nah, man, I appreciate you having me on, man. I enjoyed it. Obviously all your interviews are pretty dope to watch, man, especially through this COVID, man, keeping us entertained. So I appreciate you, bringing me on. And, today was the first day of school, so we had so much going on. Coach Willie just came back from vacation, and so it felt like a 45-minute day just as fast as it was going. But I knew that I needed to get on the show, so I definitely appreciate you bringing me on.
Well, I appreciate you, man. It's always great to follow you, and even last year seeing you on the road a couple of times, watching you guys play, that was awesome as well. Yeah. And so I want to thank you viewers for watching another great show. Stay tuned for the next guest as we get them unmasked See you next time and stay safe.